I got admitted to the psych ward in the hospital, that when I get out, like, I'm going to live my truth. Because if this is rock bottom, I don't ever want to get back, to this spot. And realizing that at 20 I was like, oh my God, I'm glad that I'm figuring this shit out at 20 rather than 40, or 50. I just don't want to have that generational trauma or cycles that I pass on to, friends or family or anything. And so I've been queer and non-monogamous for give or take 5.5 years now. Yeah, so since like around June of 2020. Yeah, so that's how I came about and talked about it with people, and everybody has been very welcoming and accepting of me. And if people haven't, then I'm really quick to just unadd people or not have people in my lives. Life is too short to have negative energy around you, and that's just how I try and approach things in life. Yeah.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 431. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have an incredibly powerful conversation with Joelle. Before we go any further, we wanted to express our immense gratitude to Joelle for reaching out to us to share his story today because, as you'll hear, in order to do so, he had to go back and relive some of the most traumatic experiences of his life. We also wanted to make sure that you, as a listener, are aware that this interview has conversations about sexual abuse, rape, and suicide throughout and may be triggering to some.
Yeah, what Joelle shares with us is sort of his whole coming out story, but not just coming out as non-monogamous, pansexual, or queer. From the age of about 10 until he was 17 or 18, Joelle was sexually abused and raped by someone in his extended family. This ultimately led to him becoming suicidal and checking himself into a hospital for help in his early 20s. And as you heard in the soundbite at the beginning of the show, he decided that when he got out, he was going to live his truth, and he definitely has, but it meant sharing with his family everything that happened to him throughout his childhood, as well as opening up about his sexuality and non-monogamy. So again, thank you, Joelle, for coming on to share your story, because we know you are not the only one who's gone through something like this or may be going through something like this right now. And there is so much power in knowing you're not alone. So again, thank you for sharing your story with us.
Today, Joelle is 26 years old and has been openly exploring non-monogamy for about 5 or 6 years. He's navigated his first major non-monogamous relationship and is currently exploring and building his queer and poly community of friends and support as he continues figuring out how to be himself and find his way in love, relationships, and life. Or as he puts it, I'm becoming who I've always wanted to be but didn't know how to be.
And after the interview, Joelle sticks around for our new bonus questions that are available for our premium subscribers. As a quick reminder, our premium subscribers get access to ad-free podcast listening, as well as access to these new bonus questions we started at the beginning of this year. The bonus question episodes are 10 to 15 minutes long and are an opportunity for us to get to know our guests a little bit deeper. And today we have a great time digging in with Joelle. He shares with us what article of clothing he's most likely to keep on during sex, what myths about sex he's had to dispel, what his first class he would be taking at sex and relationship school, and so much more. We have a blast, and we hope you stick around to listen. To join the premium subscription so you can listen, you can head over to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, scroll down on the homepage, and there you can sign up for just $4 a month or $40 a year.
For anyone who is a premium subscriber, we will jump right into the interview with Joelle now. And for anyone else, we're going to go through a few announcements. First up, our community. We talk about this every week, but we lead a community full of over 300 people socializing and supporting one another every single day. We host the community on a platform called Mighty Networks and have monthly community support Zoom calls, monthly virtual workshops, and in-person events all for less than $10 a month. Our next community monthly workshop is actually tomorrow. That's February 12th with Dr. Melissa Delizia and Lauren Carroll, and it's called Grieving Queer. We would love to have you come join us, and a recording of the workshop will also be available to community members.
So if you miss it, if you're listening to this after tomorrow, and you're like, damn it, I want that, you can definitely go back and listen when you join the community. Another perk you get when you join our community is you get access to the premium subscription that we were talking about earlier, included for free. So to sign up and join us, you can head over to our website, again, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Click on the community tab. You can learn all of the information there and apply, again, for less than $10 a month.
Next up, we are so excited to remind you all about our next in-person event called Relationship Recess. It is coming up May 1st to 3rd, 2026, just outside Orlando, Florida, and is a weekend packed with games, connection, and play. And also, to be clear, you don't need to be a member of our community or the premium subscription to join this event. It is open to the public.
Yeah, we're collaborating with the team from Multi-Amory and a friend of ours, Gary Ware, who is a strategic play consultant, to bring you all an amazing weekend full of professionally led games and activities to help deepen our connections with our partners, our family, our friends, and with ourselves. So please come check it out. You can find all of the information over on our website. You click on the banner at the top. It'll take you right there to where you can learn everything you want and grab your tickets.
I would say tickets are on sale now. You can sign up and join us in May.
And the last thing we want to remind you all about is our favorite way to get tested for STIs, because we're weirdos and we have a favorite way. And that favorite way is stdcheck.com. We've been using this service for years, and we tell you about it because we absolutely love it. It is fast, it is easy, it is discreet. And when you use the links over on the resources tab of our website or in your podcast player, you get a nice little discount, which brings the cost of a 10-panel test down to only $129. And you help support the podcast, which we are incredibly grateful for, so we can keep bringing you this podcast every single week for free.
And finally, a reminder to reach out to us, send us an email over on the Contact Us page of our website. We would love to hear from you if you have any questions or comments for us, or best of all, if you'd like to be a guest on this podcast, just like Joelle, email us and let us know.
And one other thing, that website that we're sending you to,
it's new.
It's brand new.
It is.
It still smells like a new car. It's got that new car smell still. So
yes,
check it out.
Finn's been working really hard.
Yeah, and just would love to have you check it out. So head over there, do all the things we told you about, join the community, sign up for Relationship Recess, get your STI test, send us an email.
Yeah.
You got lots you can do over there.
All the things.
All the things.
And you can see the podcast show notes for each episode.
Oh, that's a good point. So you can see pictures of all of our guests, and all of the anything that we talk about, any of the resources we talk about are listed there as well.
Yes.
All right.
And with that, let's go and talk to Joelle. Welcome to the podcast, Joel. We're really excited to chat with you today. Thank you for reaching out to us a couple months ago and just letting us know that you wanted to come on and share your story. So thank you for being here today.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to get to know you a little bit better. We know basically nothing about you, so let's dig in and have some fun finding out who Joel is, and maybe the best place to start is just a quick an introduction. What do you want us to know about Joel before we jump into your relationship story?
Okay, so my name is Joel, and you're okay, and I am 26, and I found out about polyamory and just open relationships back in about 2020-ish. A lot happened in 2020 for me. We could dive in later, but growing up, all we know is monogamy. Mm-hmm. And I felt like a bad person for caring for whoever I was dating or interested in, but feeling like I don't really feel comfortable being with just one person, but it was always so stigmatized being, with more than one person. So trying to figure out that journey has been a lot. And I'm a personal trainer, and I just love to help people. Been into athletics my whole life. And yeah, like I said, I'm an open book. And whatever anybody wants to know, I feel comfortable answering. Yeah, so whatever you guys want to know, just go ahead.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Well, I also want to just note that to anybody who didn't catch that, we know so little about you. We didn't even know how to pronounce your name. So, so
Yeah, all
thank.
good. Hey, that's with everybody. Everybody always says Joel. So, yeah, it's all good. All
Awesome.
good.
Well, thank you for your grace on that. And yeah, we're excited to get to know you a little bit better. And also to give just a little bit of context, maybe of, you know, age, general location. You're in your 20s and you live out in California in the Bay Area-ish.
Yes, so I actually live in San Jose, so it's give or take about an hour away.
Yeah,
I'm
depending on
20.
traffic.
Right. Traffic's the worst, and I am 26 as well. I identify as male, so he, him. Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'd love to go back in time a little bit and see where non-monogamy, alternative relationships, any of that started entering your life.
Okay, so gosh, I feel so horrible even talking about this, but it's good to know, like, yes, like to be accountable. I think I've always been the way I went about it wasn't always the best, you know? So, yeah, I'm sure in the community it's called non-ethical,
Yes.
non-monogamy,
Yes. Uh-huh.
otherwise cheating. But, I always felt bad because I felt as if, well, if you love somebody or care for somebody, you should only be with that one person, right? That's how I grew up. And so I always felt like bad for being curious and not feeling as if I can live out that truth or how to even bring that up because talking to my parents, they don't have much knowledge on this lifestyle or anything like that, and I don't have a lot of people who do, or if they do, they don't talk about it. So it all you think is monogamy, and anything else outside of that is bad because all I've heard was like swinging, right? Growing up
Mhm.
swinging, and it was always frowned upon. So I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I guess I can't be curious and be with more than one person. So I always kept that separate from my relationships. And it's not the best when I was younger, or should I say pre closeted. That's pretty much my timeline, right?
Mhm.
Pre closeted and out. So 2020 before and 2020 after, I feel as if are two not completely different people, but I am becoming who I've always wanted to be, but didn't know how to be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And also I wanna point out too, like, in that time before 2020, like, you are also a teenager and,
Yeah.
like, again, like, there's so much
Right.
going on in those
Yeah.
moments too,
Yeah.
and I just wanna point out the timeline in
Mm.
there too,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
there's just we don't know, we often don't know,
Yeah.
and, oftentimes everything is frowned upon, or even questioning it is frowned
Mhm.
upon, and, unfortunately, cheating is sometimes the, like, more socially acceptable thing.
Right, then exploring a different lifestyle. Make
Right.
that make sense, right? But
Yeah.
Right.
we live and we learn and we go about things differently as you
Yeah.
learn
Yeah.
more information, yeah.
Well, and I love too what you said though, that like after 2020, sort of now you're figuring out how to be the you that you've always felt like you were. And I think this is something that we talk to so many people where, you know, the way it like comes to my mind is like we stuff it down, but it squirts out, right? Like
Yeah,
we try to hide it, but you cheat, you do things that are unethical, you hide things, and it's because you're like caught in this place of like how like this doesn't feel right, but that doesn't nothing none of this actually feels good. But the thing that
yeah,
seems like it would feel good, everybody says is wrong, and you're just kind of like stuck.
right, and I way that if I could just jump into how,
Yeah. Go
I
for it.
kinda started coming out, well, a little backstory. So, I was curious, so it's gonna get pretty deep over here. So, back when I was about 9, I, would look up, gay porn and all that stuff and trying to just see, "Oh, what else is out there? What else do I enjoy?" Right? At 9, you're not supposed to be doing that, but curiosity.
Yeah.
We've all been there. And so this was probably one of my first, like, traumatizing experiences only because I was so close to my mom. So and me and her have a great relationship today, and I've talked to her about this stuff, so I've no issue sharing this. So I used to, borrow my grandpa's phone and, look up porn and stuff like that. And there was one day me and my mom and my older sister and older brother were in the car, and me and my brother were just having this, brotherly argument. And he says, as a response, well, at least I don't look at gay porn on grandpa's phone. And the whole car went like silent, right? And mind you, I'm Mexican, so Mexican family, everything like that, and it'll kind of make sense later on. And the car just went silent. And I was like 9, right? So I was looking out the window, just like, crying, feeling like my whole world is just like ending.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, my sister, she'd always been like a second mom to me. She's 7 years older. So she was like, Jojo, which is my brother's name. She was like, Jojo, why the fuck would you say that to him, And I was just like crying. And then my mom, she starts yelling at me. She was like, Joelle, is that true? Like, were you looking at that? Like, and my mom was a young mom. She had 3 kids by 23. So you can kind of get the idea. And so we're in this car, and it just feels like the longest ride home ever. And I'm
Yeah.
9, and I'm like, y'all don't even know what it was I was really looking at, but it brought some type of something to me. And so I was like, why am I being punished for, just being curious? That never really made sense to me. And especially me and her being so close, I was a mama's boy. So it that hurt even more.
Yeah.
And so we get home, and this is the traumatizing part. We get home, she puts me in the room, gives me a pen and a paper. And I'm not sure exactly how many times, could have been like 300 times. She said, with perfect spelling, you can't come out of this room anymore until you write on this paper, I will not look at gay porn on the phone anymore. 300
Yeah.
times, perfect spelling, right? And me at 9, and me being a mama's boy, that hit me pretty hard.
Sure.
And so um, when I was when I was 10 up until 17, 18ish, and I've already reported this and everything, but my dad's second wife's nephew, he was 5 years older than me. He raped me. So from 10 to like 17, 18, uh, that was just something that we did. He never forced himself on me, but he presented himself to me, and me being such a people pleaser, I, went along with stuff.
Yeah.
And so that happened at 10 was when I first did something with somebody that wasn't, my immediate family, I guess you could say.
Wow.
And, over time, it kind of became something that was normal that me and this person did. And it always felt wrong because I was like, all these years, we're still not, telling people like what we were doing or anything like that. And it was just kind of like oh, don't talk about it. Just like kind of go along with whenever we're together and alone. It's kind of like the thing that we do. And, I didn't really realize like how wrong this was until I go to the army in 2020. And, I was there, and I think, maybe the MOS that I chose, it wasn't the most welcoming. So, I regret even saying this, but, military police, that's not what I wanted to go in for. It's another story, but the recruiters, kind of manipulate you into picking something that you don't really want. And so I wanted to go in for graphic design. You know what I mean? My dad was a veteran. He recommended that to me. And I was like, graphic design, that's cool. I'm kind of into art and all that stuff. And so I go, and they end up doing, military police. And I wasn't really doing anything at that time in my life. So I was like, you know what? Why not? You know, let's see. It can't get any worse than what I'm not doing already. So I go and quickly realize that that environment is not for me. And, I try and talk to the drill sergeants, like, not even like a couple days after I get to my company about like, hey, I'm not like mentally stable. And I quickly realize that I should not be here. And, so I'm talking to a drill sergeant, and I'll never forget this. Uh, and so I'm trying to tell him what I just told you. And he was like, Private, I've seen battle buddies die in my arms downrange. You'll be fine. Anything else you need?" And I was like, "Yo, like, they really don't give a fuck." Like, I felt alone, and it was in Missouri too. There's a reason why they call it misery. It's like 10 degrees outside. Now I'm from Cali, so I'm used to like 75, 80 degrees and wearing shorts all the time. And it's like 10 degrees. You can't even feel your body when you're outside. And so being out there and it being 2020, and this is like maybe like a couple weeks before COVID is like
Mm.
known. And so being all this 1,000 miles away from my family as well, it was kind of tough to be who I am with also feeling like I'm in prison. Because when you're in the military, you're not your own person. You're property of the government, and they don't care. Really, they really don't give a shit. You're just a number to them. And so, like, I felt even more alone when that stuff happened. And give me a quick second.
Yeah, pause.
I wasn't even in, like, basic training for not even, like, 3 months, so that's how, like, soon I realized. And I felt very alone and just, like, there was no purpose. And so I was in this, rehab kind of facility at the time, and I I was like, just trying to think about how am I gonna, you know, end end life, right? And so I was talking or just in a room by myself. And then this random guy from a different company comes in. He's another private, and he was like, "Hey, bro, you doing all right?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." And that was the first time, that you say that you're not good as a guy, especially being, growing up in a Hispanic household. My dad always told me, "Do you need a straw? Suck it up." Stuff like that. Kind of funny to think about, but in all actuality, it's like, it's the reason why I didn't
Yeah.
talk about my, um, assault whenever that happened, because I didn't know that I could talk about that. And so I'm kind of just talking to the private, and I'm like, "Hey, I I'm not good." And he's like, "You need to talk about it." Like, I can talk to this drill sergeant for you, and he's actually a pretty nice guy. Like, I can go talk to him. And I was like, "Yeah, like, can you do that, bro?" And he was like, "Yeah, for sure." So we go, and he talked to the drill sergeant. Drill sergeant was like, "You need me to take you to the hospital? Um, I need to take you to the hospital so you can, if you want to admit yourself, you can. Just let me know what you need." And I was like, "Why wasn't my other freaking drill sergeant as understanding as this?" You know what I mean? Like, anyway, that's a whole other rant for another day. But so I get admitted, and I tell them, "Hey, I want to kill myself." And so they admit me. I'm staying there for about 5 days, maybe a week. And when I get there, they have you meet with a social worker. So they have you call your family, let them know where you're at. Um, then they do the social worker. So you sit down with them, and that was the first time I've ever talked to somebody about that. And so, of course, they needed the names, told them the names of the person. And then they were like, uh, "Why do you think it ended between, you two?" And I was like, people just get busy, life happens, you know how it goes. And when she asked me this question, when your heart just like freaking sinks, they said, "Do you think it ended between you two because you weren't a little kid anymore?"
Mm.
And I was like, "Oh, shit." Like, kind of like fell in place at that moment. And I was like, everything about me kind of makes sense. Why I'm so curious, why I'm such a flirt. Like, everything has been hypersexualized in my brain my whole life. And I always felt bad for being curious, going back to what
Mhm.
happened with my mom. And then, growing up with my dad being so like machismo, it was like, could I really talk to him about that stuff? And um, I they let me out about 5 weeks later after being out of the hospital. And So when I got home, my mom, she told me, "I know you're not, but it looks like you're on meth." Because when I went in, I was like 155 pounds, right? And then when I get home, not even 3 months later, I'm 140 pounds. Just my hair was thinning, like I was skinny and just looking like sick. So I kind of laughed and I was like, "Hey, you're right. Can't say shit about it. I look like I'm on drugs right now." And so I was probably home for maybe like 4 days, and then I was like, you know what? I was gonna go live with my sister in Texas. So I drove from San Jose, California, with my cousin Robert, and we drove to. We stopped a couple places. We stopped in LA, then we stopped in Arizona, and then we, went to Austin, Texas. That's where my sister was at the time.
And this was all during COVID, right? This is all
Yeah,
2020 still.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
April of 2020
Yeah.
is when we're making this road trip. Yeah. So
And so you got out of the military, it sounds like, right?
yeah. So I got a general discharge.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got out, and so we're driving across country, and I tell my cousin, this is like one of the first people of my family that I kind of like opened up to. And it was like 3 a.m. I'm driving, he's asleep, and I wake him up. I'm like, "Hey, Robert, can I talk to you about something?" And he was like, "Yeah, for sure, bro. What's up?" Because he's always been like my probably closer than what me and my brother are. And so I talk with him, and I'm like, "Hey, can I tell you something?" And he was like, "What's up?" And he always used to make a joke in high school, and it was funny the first couple of times, don't get me wrong, but as more time went on, sorry, I'm really cold, can I go put on a
Yeah.
sorry,
Go get a
sorry,
sweatshirt. It's
oh, dude, give me a second. Alright, um, so we're driving with my cousin, and he used to always say, "Hey," because whenever we would be in group settings and he would just kind of, like, make jokes as we would in high school. He would say, "Oh, Joel would fuck anything that walks or anything that breathes," right? But little did he know what happened to me, right? So, and everyone would always like kind of laugh and just kind of like brush it off, and I never really said anything about it. So I never blamed him for anything because he don't know. And so we're driving, and I kind of told him like what had happened to me, and I was like, so that's kind of why like I was like a huge flirt in high school, like major flirt. That's what people knew me as. Never really did much, but like it was mainly flirting. So he was like, "Bro, like I'm so sorry," things like that, like anything. And I was like, "Nah, bro, I just needed to tell you." And he's like, "Do you want me to talk to anybody or anything? Like, who's a person?" And at that time, I was like, "Bro, I can't tell you that because I don't know how you're gonna handle that." Like, so I was like, "Dude, I really can't tell you that. Like, I know that you'll try and handle this and don't." And so he was like, "All right, I respect that." And so he was like, "Just know I love you, bro." Because I think the only like gay like person in real life that I kind of knew like growing up was his brother. So his brother, he was like the first like openly gay person like in our family or anything like that that I knew of, anyways. And so I always like saw how people treated him, and I was like really just like kind of sad for him because it's like I don't know, homophobia never really made sense to me, and I think I mean, a lot of, like, queer people that I've talked to anyway, they have a lot of internalized homophobia, and don't get me wrong, sometimes that, probably goes through my head too, but I always try and make a point to never treat anyone differently because of it, because everybody's journey is different. So, I all I care about and is, judging people on their moral compass. Me, myself, I'm not religious by any means, I've never really felt any connection towards it. And that was another thing, like, my dad would always, kind of get upset about that because, like, for example, I know I'm jumping all around in these stories, but
You're good. That's
um,
just keep going.
so stop going. Yeah, yeah, I stopped going to church around, like, 2016, so like my senior year. And so I told him, hey, like, I don't really feel like going to, church anymore. And he was upset, obviously. And I just didn't want to like upset my dad because I always like looked up to my dad. And he was like always like my Superman to me. Like any like red flags that anybody would talk to me about my dad, I'll be like, my dad, no way. You know, like that's my guy. That's my dude. Like, and so um to let him down, not necessarily let him down, but feeling like I had let him down, like I was a disappointment, was probably hurt more than, any traumas that I went through, right? Make that make sense. But, I'm talking about like what I was thinking during this time. And so whenever we would have grace or anything like that, I would always say, thank you to whoever made the food. Maybe like 5, 10 seconds after, everybody said their thing, I would still hold their hands and everything like that. I just wouldn't participate. And he would always find like offense to that. Like, oh, you can say thanks to whoever made the food, but you can't say amen. It's like, I don't know, religion has always felt very culty when people like that are trying to
Mm-hmm.
get you to participate. And that always turned me off because I'm like, I don't want to do anything don't feel comfortable doing, or because I don't want to fake religion because I feel like that's more disrespectful than anything. Um, just to put on a fake face just to fit in.
Yep.
Like, no, I know that there are people who, like this is actually a connection for them, and not all religious people are like my dad. So I'm like, that's just not my scene. More power to people who do that. But that's the beautiful thing about living in America is that you can and cannot practice, and that's perfectly okay. There's not one way of doing stuff. So that was how I got into that with religion and everything like that. But so I was going back to the story with my cousin Robert. So we're driving to Texas, and I get there to my sister and everything like that. I'm there for 6 weeks. I'm thinking that I'm gonna, live out there and be with her and everything. And I got like this close, like super close to telling her kind of what I've told my cousin and kind of like my my sexuality and things like that. And I just couldn't tell her. Like I was so close to telling her, but I told her, "Hey, I'm going through a lot of things right now, and I just need to be around a lot more family," because it was just her out in Texas. So packed my stuff back up, and then I came back home to San Jose, and I was on a mission. So it took me like 27 hours to drive from Austin, Texas, to San Jose. I only stopped like one time at a truck stop for like 2.5 hours. I slept, and I was just drinking monsters, energy drinks, and just on the road. I didn't stop until I had to go to the bathroom. So get back home, and then like I think it's either the next day or 2 days later, I drive to my dad's house, hour away, but there with the intention of telling him, you know, why I'm out of the military and what's happened. And I was like really kind of like, I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna bring this up to him. Me and my dad never really had like tough talks about like deep, like being vulnerable with each other was never something that like the connection that we had with each other. So I was like, well, we'll see how this goes. So I go there and I'm like, he's upstairs, I'm downstairs. I'm like, hey dad, can we go for a walk real quick? And he was like, oh, I'm kind of busy. Can we like, is it urgent? I was like, yeah, it is. And he was like, oh, okay. So we go outside, and I just like blurted out. I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna blur it out because I don't know if I can say this, but blah blah happened. And like I sat there and like kind of silence, right? And I was expecting like kind of a similar response to, how my mom kind of responded. But I think with how we talked about it, I don't know if that's the case, but it was like really welcoming and like really understanding. And I was like, yo, who the fuck, like this is not my dad. Like, where's my dad? Like this is not my dad. but I wasn't like mad. I was just like really surprised. Like it's too good to be true that he's just there for me. I haven't seen this side of my dad before. So, well, also why I was so surprised like that was because when I was playing college baseball, I made the junior college team, and I was so afraid to tell him that I didn't want to play baseball anymore because one of the coaches over there were just really not welcoming and made me not love baseball for, I played baseball my whole life, and for a coach to not make me love it anymore was really tough. So I was telling my dad, "Hey, I don't want to play baseball anymore. I actually hate it because, this is my experience." And he wasn't mad, he was just disappointed. And coming from him and our connection that we had our whole life was built around sports. Like that was, the stereotypical, if you ever watch One Tree Hill, like Dan on the show, that's not to that extreme, but like on that path. And so telling him that I was giving that up, like I think that was tougher to talk about than talking about my traumas, right? Make that make sense? Doesn't, but that's just how life is. And so you, because we have a couple family friends who are in law enforcement, and he was like, "Hey, like, how do you want to handle this? Since people know now, I don't mind more people knowing." So he was like, "We can I can put you in contact with our family friend or your uncle, and you could talk to him before. And if that's something you want to make a police report on this person, these are the steps." So I go and talk to my uncle. Really, he's always been a really good guy to me and always made me feel pretty welcomed. And so I tell him what's going on, and he's there for me. And I was like, "Where the hell is this representation and everything like that growing up, especially for men who are assaulted?" So I talked to him, and he's like, "Hey, here's the card for the person if you do want to make the report." He's like, "I highly suggest it." He's like, "Here's the person's number, make the call, and then you could set up a time to make the report." So I'll make the report, and the person was just listening to me, trying to get all the information, didn't judge, which for me, I was like, I don't really care for, police too much, and I have a interesting concept of them, but for I will say that instance they did the right thing, and they put me in the right avenues to share my story and get justice for however they could. And at the time, I made the report in June of 2020, and I didn't actually get to step in the courtroom until January of 2023, I believe.
Wow.
Yes. No, no, 2022, I believe. Yeah. Um,
You're like
so
a year and a half later.
yeah, because COVID and everything, and everything was backed up. And so, yeah, it took like a year and a half later, but I believe he got 10 years probation. He had to register as well. Yeah, so I that was like kind of my like coming out story was expressing the traumas that I've been through. And also I was like, if anybody judges me because of that, oh, they're a cruel ass person. You know what I mean? So
Right? Yeah.
this will show a lot of people's true colors as well. And my parents, I'm not going to go into detail, but they kind of told me similar stories that happened to them as well, like within family stuff growing up. So I I was like, why didn't y'all just like talk to us? Like if we would have known the warning signs or things to look out for, like in case somebody were to try and approach you that way, like we would have shut that down immediately, but there's not enough representation in minority communities about this stuff happening, and that's a real shame. Like I wish more people are upfront about it, and stop trying to protect the people that take innocent um, lives away. And I think that's really important, and I think that's why I talk about it. Especially as Mexican man, even though I'm very white passing and I'm very well aware of that and I have a lot of white privilege, that's kind of like my coming out story was like to my family first, of course. And then also giving myself, because before coming out, I would, like, I think at 16, I started like venturing out and like sleeping with, you know, adult men because I would lie and say I was like 19, right? I don't blame anybody else because I could have passed as 19. So, I will admit to that. But did that stuff out of, it was both curiosity and normality because something like for me, I never, and even still to this day, as of right now in my life, anyways, I'm not romantically attracted to men. Um, and I think it may have to do with the trauma, not fully letting myself being vulnerable to a man. Oh, or a cis man, I should say, cisgender man. And but I'm definitely sexually attracted to them. And ever since 2020, I've given myself the opportunity to genuinely see if that's something that I'm interested in, or if it's just out of normality, out of just something that I do with guys physically. And I've come to find out, yeah, I do find genuine enjoyment with it. If the person's chill, if the person, respects me, like I have no issues with that. Sexuality is very fluid and you shouldn't feel bad for it. And you got to figure out what feels most comfortable. And there's no other way to do it than to just do it. And so sexually, I'm pan. So I'm into, all genders. Haven't messed around with all genders, but I know I'm attracted to them. But romantically, just into women, non-binary and trans. Um, yeah, so that's kind of my like journey with that. Um, that's the mean potatoes backstory. Whole bunch of other stuff. Like since I've so when I got out of the army and I kind of told my story, I kind of also told people I was non-monogamous as well. So those two things I came out at the same time. And because I knew, like, when I got admitted to the psych ward in the hospital, that when I get out, like, I'm gonna live my truth. Because if this is rock bottom, I don't ever want to get back, to this spot. And realizing that at 20 was, I was like, oh my god, I'm glad that I'm figuring this shit out at 20 rather than 40, or 50. I just don't want to have that generational trauma or cycles that I pass on to, friends or family or anything. And so I've been queer and non-monogamous for give or take 5.5 years now. Yeah, so since like around June of 2020. Yeah, so that's how I came about and talked about it with people, and everybody has been very welcoming and accepting of me. And if people haven't, then I'm really quick to just unadd people or not have people in my lives. It's life is too short to have negative energy around you, and that's just how I try and approach things in life. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you for everything you shared. I mean,
of course.
it's been a understatement to say a hell of a journey. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm blown away, Joelle. I appreciate you sharing everything you did and in the detail you did. I mean, I can imagine talking about it. It sounds like it's somewhat healing, but it's also really intense probably to revisit. So thank you for
Mhm.
for sharing with us. And I love, I love that your family showed up for you, right? And I know you had those experiences growing up and there were, the disappointment or having to write, that you're not going to look at gay porn on your grandpa's phone and all of these things. But
Right.
but it sounds like when push came to shove, when shit got real, it sounds like they also had their own experiences where they were able to tap in and say, okay, this isn't looking at porn on grandpa's phone. This is real shit. And we got to show up and we're here for
Yeah.
our kid and our
Right.
family. And I I mean, a hell of a way to have to come out to everybody about
Right.
your
Right.
sexuality,
Right.
about the way you
Right.
live, but damn.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I feel as if vulnerability can either bring people together or, you know, make you
Yeah.
realize who you want in your life. People's true colors come out, and I think especially nowadays with everything going on in the world, you need people who
Yeah.
are there for you genuinely, like unconditionally, whether it be friends or family. Like you just need
Yeah.
to find people who see you for you,
Yeah.
no matter what that looks like.
Well, and I have to imagine, and I've been through anything like this, but in some ways, right, you were very much forced out of the closet to survive, right? Like if you're in the hospital, suicidal, you basically had to. It was a matter
Right.
of survival.
Mhm.
And I can totally see why at this point you're
Hmm.
like, yeah, if you don't like it, fuck you.
Mhm.
Like
Right.
I,
Yeah.
I I really don't give a shit what you think. Like I've been at the actual bottom and you're not taking me there again.
Literally. Yeah. 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 I was just gonna say, I feel as if I can't need for me, then who will? And I try and remind myself of that every day, like whether it be with relationships, I can't be a present friend, I can't be a present partner, I can't be anything for anybody if I do not have my shit. If I don't have my sanity. And that was a whole journey with, medication, with Prozac and everything. It was great for the time
Mhm.
it was to help me get my thoughts together,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it also messed up with my sex drive a lot. Like it was almost non-existent. I'm sure you've probably heard that before, but I was on it for almost like a little over 3 years, and my sex drive was almost like gone. And for that to be like a huge part of like who I am, it was really tough on the relationship I had at the time. And because I was dating somebody for about 3 years, and we were even engaged for like a year and a half of it, and that took a toll on that relationship too, because I was like, "Girl, I am like so attracted to you, but I just can't show it right now. I literally can't." Or like if I was able to get up, it would be at the wrong times. Like whether she'd be work because she worked remote, and I would like be home for lunch or whatever, and try and make some moves, and she'd just be like, "Hey, it's not the right time. I'm working." I was like, "Okay, whatever, right?" I was like, "No worries." And so I would always like try and find excitement in other ways. So like I would meet
Mhm.
with other people and be like, "Oh, okay, it is like that. Maybe I do like this the what is it, spontaneity or yeah, yeah, you know what I'm trying to say." So I was like, maybe that's what start getting me back into it, and also lowering my dosage over time. And then so I've been off of it for almost 2 years now, and thankfully that shit came back. Oh my god, I was stressing for a while. I was like, I am really attracted to women, but nothing's going on. And so I talked to my therapist, everything like that. They're like, there's a medication that you can take that will make sure that those side effects don't happen." And I was like, "Yo, I'm like 23. How many medications do I need to be on, right?"
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just gonna get off my medication, and yeah, and it also made me feel like a zombie too. Like I was like, I have
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
emotions right now. I mean, I don't want to jump off a building, but I also don't want to get out of bed too. So, but I don't feel bad about not wanting to get out of bed. And I was like, huh, yeah, maybe I do need to feel something again. So I got off of it, and now I'm able to regulate those feelings that I have, and especially with this lifestyle, you have to like be able to feel, or else you're just gonna feel like a robot, like a zombie. And yeah, I didn't like that feeling of being just numb, and like sure I wouldn't want to kill myself, but also
Yep.
I
Yeah.
feel like
Yep.
Yeah.
too much of life either. So it was just a very, very weird time as well.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, and it sounds like you got support too to in that process of like trying the
Hmm.
antidepressant and like seeing how that felt, but then in the process of like getting off of it, like this is not what I want. This is not how I mean, my sex drive's gone one, but also I feel
Yeah.
like I'm walking through the world kind of numb, and I
Right.
um yeah,
Hmm.
that you're able to have support in that transition and to continue finding support too to navigate, because there are other tools, don't work for
Yeah.
everybody, but there, some people need the antidepressant. That's really important and really helpful for people.
Yeah.
But also there are other tools as well.
Yeah, I think it served its purpose
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
for me. Yeah, I needed it at that time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I'm curious as well, Joelle. You talked about a moment ago that you were in a relationship, engaged for a little bit, and I'm curious, coming out of this sort of huge shift in life, well, how did you start to put the pieces together for moving into relationships after that?
The first steps that I made with that was, I'm on the dating apps, I'm on all of them pretty much, but I made sure to put it in my bio, like who I am and how I live my lifestyles, because I'm a big believer on not wanting to waste anybody's time. You can't get time back, you can't get energy back. And so put that in my bios, and if people liked me, then they would, take a shot on me, and if they had questions, they could ask me. I'm really open book. I don't really care to keep anything from people because I forget shit a lot. So I was like, all you gotta do is forget one lie that you tell, and everything just unravels. Been there before in my closeted days, and in my cheating days, and things just it was not good. But yeah, I was like huge on just being upfront with people, and especially the person that I was dating at the time. The very first time that I met her, we were talking for a couple weeks, and then I go and visit her, and I just asked her, "Hey, what are your thoughts on open relationships?" Hmm. She was like, "Might be open to it someday." But like that was the first time that we met. We like didn't like each other at all. I was just asking her random stuff, and yeah, so over time, we got to know each other, and she was living in Chico at the time. I was living in San Jose. She was gonna be, moving back to San Diego, that's where she's from. So when we were talking, um, she would come and visit her friends in the Bay Area for, like, a couple weeks at a time. She'd stay a couple days with me, a couple days with, her friends, and we kinda just became closer over time. And then, around, like, 7 months, we made it official and everything, and we were trying to figure out, like, what the boundaries would be like with, this lifestyle and, okay, you're non-monogamous, and she was open to it, so she was like, "How would we, structure this? How we do this?" And I wish I knew who I am now, but, after being with her, I know what I want now, so we made the compromise that she was my primary partner, and that wasn't going to change. So that was kind of like, hey, if you date anybody else or anything like that, like let that be known that you're building a life with me. And so I was like, okay, that seems like a okay compromise. And at that time, think I was 22, so I was still pretty young, and she was 3 years older than me. Exactly, we had the same birthday. So, we were dating, everything was good, and, I really didn't have any, um she actually opened up my eyes to a lot of, like, how I want relationships structured, and you don't even though we're not we're living our life traditionally, there are some things that, are nice in a relationship. For her, that she enjoyed a lot was the stability. Hey, that's my primary.
Mhm.
I'm building with this person. That idea is cool. At that time, I was like, yeah, I'm open to that.
Yeah.
Seems cool. And so we were dating for not even like 7 months at that time, and so she was actually gonna get a apartment with one of her old college roommates, right? And that was the first time that I met this friend. For They were going on apartment tours. And I was like, oh, cool! Like I'll just go and join y'all and just have a good day with you. And she was like, okay, cool. So we go and visit, right? And then a week later, mind you, keep in mind this is April 1st at this time, and so I'm at work, and she was like, oh my god, guess what happened to my friend? She got into a car accident and her car's totaled, and she doesn't think that she's gonna be able to move in with me. And yeah, she has to put money towards another car. And I was like, oh, sorry to hear that. Hope she, feels better and everything gets taken care of. And then I should have said no. Like, now thinking about it, she was very jokingly, it was kinda like, "Haha, like, we should move in together," right? Because in my head now looking back, I'm like, "Wait, I wasn't your first choice." You know what I mean? I wasn't your first choice. If something fell through, then you asked me in a joking way, and it's April 1st. But my my dumb ass at the same time was like, "Fuck it, we could talk about it at lunch." Oh my god! So that's a whole other story. I learned a lot, by living with a partner and everything that because I'd never been, and I was younger than hers, and never really moved away from home with the intention of not coming back. So it was, especially living in the Bay Area too. It's just so expensive. Oh my god! So going from living at home, I didn't have really a good relationship with my brother, so I was like just trying to get out, right? And so we moved to Hayward, and I had only had like $4,000 to my name from working at the gym, and I had like such a great spot over there too at work, and everything was finally, I was finally able to save. I was finally able to do all these things, and then she asked me, and then it was like, okay, 2 months later, we moved to like our spot, and then like I barely even had any money to my name, but I lived in Hayward, and yeah, it was like living paycheck to paycheck. And for her, she probably made she had a job where she could work remote, and she was making like 2 to 3 times more than me, but we were like splitting stuff 50-50, and it was like, girl,
Mhm.
I can't keep up. But like I don't say that because that's supposed to be your partner. You're supposed to like carry your weight. You're supposed to do all this stuff, and I was just feeling very overwhelmed, but not really feeling like I can bring that up because I didn't want to seem weak, or I didn't want to seem like I couldn't take care of us, or I couldn't, just be as good a partner as I wanted to be. And I think financially, it always became an issue, whether it be with our cats we had at the time, and if an emergency happened with them, I'm sorry, but I can't spend $1,000 on a vet bill. It's either rent or the vet bill. Sorry, I love this animal, but I gotta take care of myself. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
have a thousand
Yeah.
dollars to my name like that. I don't. So um, all these kind of things led to like resentments, and me not really living the same household life that she does. Like me, I love to clean and all that stuff, but at my pace. Like it's gonna get done,
Mhm.
not exactly when you want it to get done. And or just the way that we clean or the way that we put stuff was just totally different, right? And so all these things just kind of like add up, and not being able to pull my weight financially sometimes, with extracurriculars. And it was, yeah, all these things just kind of like took a toll on the relationship. And then with the Prozac thing, the intimacy factor, and then also I don't think we were the same type of poly too. And we didn't realize that until like later on, because it was kind of towards like because we had moved to Hayward for a year, and then we moved to Sacramento, and we were in Sacramento for about 2 years, but we broke up like a year and a half into it. And but we were still roommates for like until that May because I was in school as well. So I was like, I'm gonna finish up my semester in the spring, then I'll move back home. In there because I was like, oh, I don't want to leave her high and dry with the lease, blah 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 blah. And we were, even though we broke up, like we always had a bunch of respect for one another. And I was like, oh, she's a really great person. I just don't want to, mess her up. And because I felt as if, oh, this is one breakup that I've had to where, oh, I think that we could still have a friendship after. Like we're really mature, we really respect each other, everything like that. Like I hope that we could still, be friends even when I move out, you know. But yeah, something like treating me like completely different after I moved out. And she was even dating somebody like toward the end of our relationship. And I think that she's very primary focused. Like the person that she wants, she gives all of her, not majority of her energy, I would say, to this person that she's really into, and then anybody else is just kind of right. So I feel as if toward the end of us, he was she had that final talk maybe like 2.5 months before we officially broke up about, hey, this is kind of like the last straw. Like, I need to see you more consistent, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, like, I totally hear you. Like, I'm sorry that, I hurt you, but I will do better. And so I would, check in with her, be like, hey, how are we doing? And she's like, you're doing great. She's like, kind of just need more time to see if like you're going to be more consistent. I was like, for sure, that's valid. And so, about 2.5 months down the road, she gets back from a concert, girls' weekend, and she just told me, hey, can we talk? And I was like, oh God, what's up? All right. And she was like, I just can't help but hold on to resentments that I've had in the relationships. And I know you've been asking, has everything been great? And, you've been doing great. It's just I can't help but hold on to the resentments.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't think I could do this anymore. You know? And for me, I've never been much of like a lash out at the person that I've been dating or anything like that. I don't like confrontation at all. And I've seen, my dad, yell at the people he's been dating or my mom, vice versa, and just very toxic households. And I don't I want to break that cycle. Me and my ex, we were really great about, breaking traumas and cycles and things like that. So I have a lot of respect for her for that. And I just listened to her because I everything that she was saying, she was also telling me we're at different phases of our lives too, which is, hey, she wasn't wrong about that either. And it wasn't my time to say anything. It Nothing that I could say would change what she's saying. It was pretty valid, or her reasonings. And her being a woman of color too. She's a black woman. She. I also didn't want her to feel as if her voice wasn't being heard too, and also knowing what time's the right time to say what you need to say. And I didn't have anything to say that would change how she would feel or change the situation that we're in. So there was no point of bringing up anything. Doesn't matter how I felt at the time. We were eventually going to run into this same issue eventually. So I really had to bite my tongue and be like, I take accountability for what you're saying. And, sometimes people are better friends than they are in relationships. And I was telling, friends and family about this. They're like, "Oh my god, how you feeling?" I was like, "I'm fine. Like, I'm gonna feel it for weeks and whatever, how long it takes, but like, situation is not gonna change. I don't have any desire to change it or yeah." So learning that about relationships and knowing, hey, whenever I date somebody again, I want them to be, or if I make them a primary partner, which I'm figuring out that I'm probably more solo poly as time goes on, then of course the idea of, having somebody to come home to and all that stuff is really cute, really sweet, really everything, but I'm at a time in my life where I just need to love myself and, hey, put myself as my primary if I need to. Um and because I've had three kind of heartbreaks in this past like year, and I just need to love myself and enjoy people's company without putting too much pressure on it and just letting things flow organically and being honest with people and letting people in. And I'm at a really great point with building my queer and poly circle and friendships and everything like that. It's tough because my lifestyle is like finding a needle in a haystack nowadays because everything is built completely opposite for how I'm wanting to live. And, it's whenever I'm, at the gym or whatever the case is, and I'm working and I see somebody that's, really cute, and I'm like, oh God, but one, I work here. So I'm like, oh, I can't really say anything, right? And also, never want to make somebody accidentally feel uncomfortable. Even if I feel like really genuine with whatever I say, somebody may not take it that way. So I usually try to play a lot more safe than anything. So this whole interview, I've kind of been more like mask, like chill, but usually sometimes I'll talk a little bit more feminine or, a little bit more flamboyant, depending on who I'm around.
Yeah.
My S's will come out and everything like that. You know how it goes, right? The code switching. So whenever I see like a gorgeous person, they have like an amazing outfit, I'll be like, oh my God, girl, your outfit is so pretty, right? And I'll say it like that. And the tone that they have whenever I say that, it's so welcoming, right? And I'm like, okay, I'd rather have that response. And then, more times than not, they friend zone me because they think I'm like gay, right? I'm like, yes, but actually no. Like, yeah, it's like so complicated to like explain it like off the rip to somebody. But I'd rather me say it that way and have maybe build a friendship and somebody is interested in me, they will let it be known because then I'll know it's safe to come at them in that way, right? But like trying to figure out how to express myself to people that I'm interested in and not being friend zoned because I'm too flamboyant sometimes or too much of one thing, right? So it's like always trying to find that happy medium and trying to let people know, hey, even though I think you're insanely attractive, like we can still have a regular conversation. I'm not gonna fucking jump on you and start making out with you. You know what I mean? So I think that's a lot of stereotypes in the gym too. Is guys coming up to girls and trying to spit game, and a lot of cute girls at the gym already have that issue. Why do I need to be another one? Like, hey, they can obviously know that I think that they're cute, but I'm not gonna make every conversation that we have about that. Like if somebody can't stimulate my mind or, show me that they have good morals, and I could be cordial with you and say hi, but like I'm not really gonna be buddy buddies. And that's just like how I try and navigate my life and yeah, I just don't want it as stress I want it as stress free as I can make it. And that's just how I judge people on their morals and trying to I be me, and if people don't like that, then hey, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I love that, Joel. I think it's so relatable. I would say, particularly
Mhm.
for me in this, is that how do you express interest in somebody without it coming off as creepy, without it being too forward, but also, yeah, you don't want to give them the wrong impression that you're not interested, because then sometimes that feels disingenuous or like almost manipulative at times,
Right.
right? And so, how do you find how do you find the balance between those?
Mhm.
That one's tough because it's like it's a case by case basis.
Yep.
I mean, usually I go about it in a very zesty way because that's, in my experience, the safest way, and because I can pull that card because I am that. So I'm not
Mhm.
faking anything. It's
Yep.
just tapping into different
Yep.
different things whenever I approach somebody. But that's for me. That's the safest way
Mhm.
because that also shows me if people are homophobic or not.
Mhm.
That's a
Yeah.
big one.
Yep.
Because if they are, then it's like, okay, then I'm just not going to talk to this person anymore. That's
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
And I just want to make somebody feel like they're just because somebody is attracted to you doesn't mean that sex is the only thing that you got to bring to the table or talk about or anything like that. Now, if somebody's very open and very just, like me and just very out there, sure, we could talk about that stuff. I have no issues, right? But
Yep.
it kind of has to be insinuated by them that, hey, you can talk about everything,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
Uh, so I kind of wait for that green light because I like to talk about everything.
Yep.
And so I try and play it safe and kind of see how the vibes go and
Yeah.
let the other person like the ball's in their court,
Yeah.
Mhm.
No,
and
I
yeah,
love that. I'm so glad you're bringing this up and getting to chat about it a little, because I would say this is a place where I'm at too in life,
mm,
and trying to figure this out, because the friendship to me is the actual foundation, right?
yeah,
There is an
yes,
sure, there's an attraction,
yeah,
right? And would I be okay with more in some cases? Yeah, probably.
mhm,
But that's not my goal. And
mhm,
if it never goes beyond just a friendship, then I'm totally great with that. And
yeah,
so but it's a really weird place to sit sometimes, because you I don't know, for me, I often get in my head feeling like it is disingenuous
mhm,
if I'm hanging more in the friend zone, but I'm also attracted to this person. Is
yeah,
that is that not okay? Like these
Yeah.
are the battles I wage.
Or it always feels like people see you and they're like, "Oh, you're just waiting for an opportunity."
Yep.
And for me, it's like a yes and a no because sure, if somebody becomes interested and I've always been interested in them, why wouldn't I,
Right.
you know, explore that?
Yep.
Um, but sticking around in hopes that somebody will magically someday be open to the idea, you shouldn't be doing that. But like like if you can't leave those to your fantasies, then you probably shouldn't be friends with that person.
Mhm.
And again, let the other person let you know that they're interested in
Yeah.
them. It shouldn't be, oh, this person's just waiting for the right moment to say something to me if I just give them this little hint. It's like, no, just be a friend. If they want anything more, you can let them know that it's still on the table, but that's all up to them.
Yeah, you don't have
Yeah.
to bring it up on every conversation,
Yeah.
just so you know, still into you. Yeah, right. Like,
Yeah, you don't need to say that. It's
yeah.
just
Mhm.
they'll know. And, I would like to think that, women are pretty intelligent. And that's why I usually like to connect with women more because they stimulate my mind. They have amazing conversations. They accept me for me. And there's not too many men that can have just a regular conversation that doesn't involve sex or anything like that like in the first 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's very rare. Now, a queer man, um, they can hold a conversation amazing, right? Um, but it's like very, very far few and in between when I find a dude where I could just have just a regular conversation. It's a lot of bro talk and oh damn, look at this person, look at that. It's like, okay, but can you talk about anything else? Like, are you passionate about anything else other than like sports and chicks? Like, sure, those things are fun to talk about. Don't get me wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like, bro, do you got any substance to you? Like, I don't think like guys need to be more comfortable about um just being more vulnerable with each other. And there's a really like troubling saying that's going around where anytime somebody does anything gay or anything like that, they'll say, "Oh no, Diddy," right? And I'm like, bro, that's so problematic to the community because they're gonna associate um, queer men with being rapists or assaulting people or anything like that. Like you say it as a funny joke, but no, people are going to associate those two communities as one, and that is not a great narrative to have. And people always say it as a joking way, but it's like, nah, bro. Like certain things you just don't say,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, but nobody ever wants to talk about that because they're like, oh, you're too soft, you're this, that, and the other. It's like, no, bro, it's because these kids who are like 6 onwards are going to associate any male affection or any vulnerability that's really genuine with one another as something that's really gay, like get away from me, or you're gonna, it's there needs to be more healthy masculinity around. And I feel like there's too much toxic and the way that men just aren't vulnerable nowadays. They don't know how to express it other than anger, and it's really tough to try and pass that down to the next generation without coming off as soft or anything like that. Like you can say whatever the hell you want to say, but hey, people are gonna enjoy being around me more than you because you don't know how to treat people with respect.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so that was another thing that popped into my mind right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think, maybe bringing it full circle, you talked multiple times about things that were said to you as a kid that were
Mhm.
a joke or,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe they were sarcastic, but right? There's this tone underneath it that,
Mhm.
well, or maybe you don't, right? Because you're a kid and you just hear it and you're like, oh, yep, that's bad. Don't do that. Like, how else can I hide?
Yeah.
And then you build yourself a really strong, deep closet.
Mhm.
You have
Yeah.
to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really tough to navigate the world when you're trying to figure out yourself at the same time. And I think
Yes.
it's ever changing. You're always going to be learning something. You're always going to be like, oh yeah, maybe I feel more comfortable expressing myself that way, or going about relationships that way or structuring things that way now that I know what I know. Or now that I've been through what I've been through, oh yeah, I really don't want to go through that again. Or, I really, if I find somebody, I usually like to say the perfect person for me is somebody who's just as poly, who's just as open, who's just as, just out there as I am. But it's very hard to find those connections because I think I'm having a great conversation with somebody. I'm like, oh yes, I'm really enjoying this. And then they're like, yeah, but I get too jealous. I can't do that lifestyle. I'm too jealous, too territorial, or too possessive, right? And they're like, I don't know how you don't get jealous. And for me, I'm like, I never said I don't get jealous. Like people think or they associate non-monogamy with, oh, you never get jealous.
Yep.
Right.
That
Yep.
could be farthest from the truth,
Yes.
because even though yes, those feelings do creep up because it's a natural feeling that your body has, right? You see somebody that you care about, you know, being treated good by somebody else, your body is like, I feel uneasy, even though your mind is like, yes, I love that for them. So you can't always listen to that natural instinct because you have to realize, oh, okay, like how would you want your other partner to express those feelings towards you? Would you want them to have it be a response, or would you want them to, hey, maybe take a day, think about it, and sometimes the feeling passes, and sometimes you just bring it up as, hey, like my body just felt that way, like I'm good now, like you don't gotta change what you're doing. But yeah, my body was feeling some type of way, but my mind is very supportive, very accepting. But if I was off a little bit, that's why. Usually, like I'll acknowledge it. Then I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Mhm.
Like let my body react how it reacts, and move accordingly.
Yeah.
And it's that is something that not many people could do. And I don't think many people my age are able to really wrap their head around that because they're still like so deep in like the monogamy world and can't even fathom dating two people at once.
Yeah.
And they're like, or like guys will be like, oh yeah, they probably want more of the polygamy rather than polyamory. They want all the cake, right? But they don't want their partners to have any fun at the same time, and that's really toxic as well because the way that they go about it is very, very, very one-sided.
Mhm.
Um, Now, if they find somebody where I believe it's monopoly, where that can work,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Sure.
Yep.
But that's the beautiful thing about this lifestyle is you can make it how you want it,
Yep.
and that's the beautiful thing about it. And it shouldn't be like, oh, a last resort ditch effort to make a relationship work. If y'all are not genuinely into it before you guys hit a rocky spot, you really shouldn't do it while it's a rocky spot because you have to have that foundation beforehand. If you don't have that acceptance, if you don't have that respect, you don't have that understanding, it's probably not going to work out um, once you make that transition. Not say it can't work, but you gotta have things in order before you make that switch. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I'm blown away by our whole conversation today, Joelle. And I mean, it's been wonderful hearing a little bit more about sort of what relationships have looked like for you the last few years coming out of everything, your life just completely sort of blew up, and put it all back together. I'm just, it's
Yeah.
such a beautiful
Yeah.
story and conversation today.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm trying, taking it day by day.
Yeah.
If that's
Yep.
all we
But
can
Yep.
do.
That's all you
Yeah.
can
that's
do.
all you can do. And I just want to say thank you again for everything you shared. And also, like, kind of as you've been talking the last little bit, I've been thinking, what's coming across to me is that you're learning how to like take a beat, like pause with yourself, with your body, with relationships, like slow it down a little bit, let things evolve a little bit more naturally. Like that can be huge, right? When we learn, so much of us wants to be urgent and feels urgency for lots of different reasons. But when we can push against that a little bit and be like, wait, no, like that's oftentimes things can develop and evolve in a maybe a more sustainable way, potentially. You're just like in a way that can feel better to everyone too, including yourself. Like you got to do that with yourself too. And it's not easy to learn.
Yeah. I think the weed helps with that, but it does help me just be like, just shrug stuff off sometimes because life's too short to be dwelling on stuff you can't really control or you don't have too much power in. So things don't always work out, unfortunately, and you have to be okay with that. And you have to be okay with rejection. You have to be okay with all these things because there is somebody or people out there that want you for who you are. Like they want every part of you, and when you find those people, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm glad I wasn't stressing about that person who really didn't care as much as I did.
Yeah.
Trying to force a square peg into a round hole, right?
Yes,
Versus,
and I feel as if I've compromised myself to do that in the past and say yes to things just to have a chance with somebody.
Yep.
And ultimately that, bit me in the ass because I'm like, well, this person is getting everything that they want, but I'm sacrificing a lot of my freedoms and a lot of who I am just to make this other person happy.
And building resentment and
yeah.
Yep.
Or expectations where that person may never be.
Yep.
And so I'm really, each kind of connection that I make, I'm learning more about myself and how I want my relationships to be with people. And all we can do is live and learn. We don't know, but once we do, we can make adjustments and try to live a smoother life. That's what I try and go about things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And maybe that's a good place to leave this part of the conversation. And for our premium listeners, our premium subscribers, Joelle agreed to stick around for some extra bonus questions. So we're gonna throw some fun lightning round questions at you, Joelle. But
before we do that, just is there anything else you wanted to get out there today?
I mean, all I can really tell people is just try and keep an open mind. Try to hear people for who they are and where they're coming from, and trying to just be there for people. I think a lot of what's going on with the world, whether it be politically or anything like that, I think people just need to know that people see them and you're not alone and that you do have community. Whatever that may look like for for whatever people, but there are people out there that are like you and that you can confide in and that you can just be yourself around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Joelle. And
of course.
And we're excited to jump into the bonus questions here in just a moment.
Yes.
So for everybody else, we'll see you next week. And for the premium listeners, we're gonna dig in here.
Yeah. Thank you so much for everything today, Joelle.
Yeah. Of course.
And we're back. Thank you so much, Joelle, for reaching out and coming on and sharing your story. It was incredibly powerful, and we're so excited to share it and get it out there.
Yeah, thank you as well from my side. Again, just immense amounts of gratitude for sharing such a powerful story, for sharing your story with us, to let everybody know that they're not alone, anybody who's going through something like this. So Again, thank you, Joelle.
A couple of quick reminders of upcoming dates of events. So first up, we have our next monthly community workshop tomorrow. That's February 12th, 2026. And it's called Grieving Queer. Links to join are over on the community tab of our website. And if you missed it, don't worry. The recording will be available for community members as well.
The other thing that's coming up is our next in-person event. We're calling it Relationship Recess. That is on May 1st to the 3rd, 2026, just outside Orlando, Florida. Come and join us. You can find out more by clicking on the banner at the top of our website and get your tickets.
And this week, actually, we have a bonus episode.
We have a secret bonus episode coming on Friday.
We do.
We're talking with Gary, who is one of the collaborators who's helping us throw Relationship Recess. And we've got Jace from the Multi-Amory podcast joining us to talk about play as resistance.
Yes.
We just recorded it earlier today.
We did. It's super exciting that it's coming out on Friday.
So stick around. You'll see that on Friday. You can spend all week with us. You get us today on Wednesday. You get us tomorrow in the community workshop. And you get us Friday for a conversation about play.
And then next Wednesday, we'll have a conversation with Sarah.
And we will see you all then.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.